Hello, and welcome to the Lore of Braunhaven. We are going to be continuing our series talking about the town of Braunhaven itself, and what's going on in the town in the current age. And so, of course, we're going to. Last week we talked about the Braunhaven region as a whole and what led up to the existence of Braunhaven. Um, and this week, of course, we're going to focus on uh, the Braunhause Coaching Inn itself, which is really the cornerstone and the start of the entire town. And so, what you see here is the Braunhause Coaching Inn. It is multiple stories high. The used stories of the building are actually, of course, the bottom floor, which is the tap room. Then there's the second floor that has rooms for rent, and then the third floor is where Tika Crackerbottom and her family um, live. And there is a fourth and fifth floor, but they are not safe for habitation. They are in the process of being renovated by Grandpa Crackerbottom. The Braunhaus literally was the first building um, built by the Braun family in the town, and the town kind of sprung up around it because it was such a popular item used by the traders on the Eastern Tradeway, and it was Tika Crackerbottom. So Tika, this is a little thing. Tika Crackerbottom is a halfling. She is 45 years old. And her name is spelled Teka, but it is pronounced Teka, and she gets extremely irritated if people pronounce it as Teka. Now, of course, most of the peasantry and farmers and whatnot probably are bordering on illiterate, so they probably wouldn't see her name written down and even know what they were looking at. But she her name is pronounced Tika. And like I said, she's 45 years old. As a child, um, her dream, her and her nieces and nephews and cousins and brothers and sisters, halfling families are large, and extended families are large. And she dreamt of. They played in the abandoned town of Braunhaven. It was abandoned, of course, due to the 2/3 of the population dying off in the demon plague. And she dreamed of one day owning and running the inn. And she made that dream come true. At 45 years of age, she has done exactly that, and she has gotten her family to kind of help her out with that. Grandpa Crackerbottom, uh, pretty much, he pretty much runs the construction efforts and the renovations of the inn, while Grandma Crackerbottom has pretty much taken over the kitchen and does all of her halfling foods in the kitchen itself. This is a map of the tap room that is going to pop up really big. Um, I didn't do a map of the second and third floors because, I mean, there are a lot of other things going on in Braunhaven um, that of course, the you don't really need to show bedrooms. Everybody knows what a hotel room looks like. But this is the tap room. And of course, in this corner, you have Grandma's kitchen. The deck you can see is in a state of disrepair, and that is Grandpa's. Uh, as your player or as your characters come in, that deck is currently what Grandpa is working on. He doesn't want anybody falling through broken boards. Um, the of course, the inn, it sits on the confluence of the unnamed river that flows out of the Gray Hills to the east, and of course the Great River. And then it is also sitting in a fortuitous location on the confluence of the Imperial Tradeway and the Eastern Tradeway. Now, originally, the Imperial Tradeway didn't exist, and the Eastern Tradeway was the only um, trade route, and so it made the Braun family very rich. It made the town of Braunhaven very wealthy. The empire wanted to kind of get in on some of that. They wanted more of the goods rather than going through Braunhaven and across the barbarous trade bridge to the capital city of Zlatoheim, of the dwarves up in the Skellis Mountains. They really wanted some of that for the capital city of Glaustein in the Glaucian Empire. So they built the Imperial Tradeway, and then promptly ignored it, because that's what some human governments do. I mean, we see that in the real world. And so the the Imperial Tradeway is in the modern day is in various states of disrepair. You see to the north. I mean, not a lot of people. It doesn't see a lot of traffic, but to the north, the Imperial Tradeway is known to be rutted, and there's potholes. And really, the only time that the Imperial Tradeway to the north of Braunhaven, in between Braunhaven and Glaustein, sees any real traffic is 4 times a year, and that is when the imperial tax collector and his retinue makes its way down through the Braunhaven region to extort taxes from the peasantry. And of course, he brings the retinue includes not just the imperial tax assessor and his collectors, but imperial knights, usually legionnaires, travel with them. Sometimes imperial witch hunters, if they are suspecting that there is druidic or witchcraft going on in the region. The Glaucian Empire, the church, the chapel of the known gods has a bee up its butt about druids and particularly druids and witches. I mean, the witch hunters are certainly not limited to druids and witches, but they just really have it in for them. South of Braunhaven. Actually, let me rewind a second. So the imperial tax collector, along with his retinue, some of those people are tradespeople and craftsmen, and of course the craftsmen are needed because the road is so rutted and so potholed that they're going to break wagon wheels and axles, and so that is the purpose of the craftsmen. The tradesmen, they bring masons, and if potholes are too bad, they will quickly kind of do a band-aid fix on them. And so they've barely these fixes barely ever last more than 3 or 4 months, but it's enough that the wagons can get over them. And so it is a patchwork of shoddy work from Braunhaven all the way north to Glaustein. And of course, it gets better the closer to Glaustein you get, but not by a lot. Glaustein has some issues that we will get to at some point in the future. South of Braunhaven, the Imperial Tradeway, much the same, but not as bad with the ruts and the potholes, because it is overgrown by weeds and grass, and of course that brings in sod and soil, and so those potholes have kind of partially at least filled themselves. So and it travels south all the way to the Imperial Port, and so but again, there's just not a lot of traffic. Of course, there is a lot of banditry that happens, especially during the 4 times a year that the imperial tax collectors make their way down. Bandits, usually consisting of humans and half-orcs, will, of course, try to hit the treasure caravans of the imperial tax collector and take what they can. So, as far as normal people, most normal people just ignore the Imperial Tradeway anymore. There's just nobody really wants to have to go to Glaustein. Tis a silly place. But that confluence is really what makes the Braunhaus what it is, and of course there is some river traffic that travels up and down the Great River, And one of the technological marvels that Tika has been able to have installed into uh, the Braunhause Coaching Inn is in the kitchen, and it actually has a sink basin and that has a pump design that is made by Sverfneblen, and it is capable of pumping water directly from the Great River, and so they have running water in the kitchen and in the restrooms upstairs in the living area and the inn area. So this is a kind of a big deal, and it's a little bit understated. But anybody who's stayed at the inn, uh, of course, that would be talked about. It's a big thing. No matter where you go, you're going to say, "Hey, I stayed in this inn that had running water. We didn't have to go outside. We didn't have to bring in buckets. You turn on a spigot and water came out." That's a huge deal. And so, yes, Sverfneblen or Grey Gnomes from the underworld, they are tinkers. They like to build machines. And so this is something that Tika was able to convince some Sverfneblen to build for her inn. So the second floor does for the inn has 6 small double occupancy rooms. And the third floor, of course, has parapets and towers and whatnot. They go up to the fourth and fifth floors. That is all for her familial staff. And there is a bunch of halflings constantly running around this place, ranging from ages of 6 years old all the way up into their 30s and 40s. But they all bow to Tika as it is her vision of running the inn. And so, of course, the inn has its each floor has its own fireplace, and the largest of them, of course, is in the tap room. And Tika has set up a sitting chair and a couch that basically at night, if there is a minstrel or bard about, this is a place where they will sit and play or tell stories. And if there isn't one about, then Grandpa Crackerbottom usually sits down with a pipe of Shire smoke and tells stories, usually to the younger halflings of the family, but guests at the inn are always welcome as well. Now, Tika, of course, has a well-known Braunhaus menu. One of the things that Tika is known for is she has won awards for this because there are numerous farmers festivals and things around the area, and she has won awards for her famous age cheesing process, or cheese aging process. And of course, one of the her most famous prize is her wheels of smoked Gouda. And you'll see that there is, behind the bar here, next to the kitchen, is a stairwell. And this goes down into a cellar beneath the inn that usually that's where they keep their kegs of beer and their ales and wines, etc. Any perishable foods will go down there. It is much cooler downstairs, and so of course the food is preserved a little bit better. But there is a side room that is a cheese cave, and it is kept very cold. You open the door to go in there, and you will see your breath. And generally, people don't know how that room is kept that cold. That is a secret that only Tika knows, and of course, anybody that goes down there and investigates deeply will find out. Recently, Tika has been having some issues and has been a little scared to go down in the basement because she has heard noises. She swears that when she has gone down there, she has seen eyes looking at her in the dark, and she has lit torches down there so that she can at least see a little bit. But she is scared to go down in the basement. She thinks that it is just simply rats. Of course, being along the confluence of two rivers, there's going to be several rats, especially. I mean, it just is what it is. There's food, and so of course the rats will find their way in. But she swears that if they are rats, then they must be the size of dogs and war dogs. But she is a halfling, and so she often is prone to uh, exaggeration. So one of the things that we probably should talk about is the names of currency, and so of course you've got the copper piece, which is known as the drachpence, and then there is the silver piece, which is the facial, and the official coinage of the empire is the gold piece, known as the cestus piece, named, of course, after Emperor Belution Cestus. The dwarves, their official coin is the electrum piece, which is the Ellsworth, and uh, because of the dwarven kingdoms up in the Skellis Mountains, you do end up seeing a lot of Ellsworths making its way around the Braunhaven region. There's a lot of trade that comes from Zlatoheim, of course, through the town of Braunhaven and the region on its way back to Urabashia along the Eastern Tradeway. And then, of course, there's the final coin, which is the platinum piece, and it's just known as a trade coin. It is a platinum coin with a solid gold orb in the middle. And generally, there is some question among people if you aren't a merchant or a tradesman, and you come in and you drop a trade coin, there's an immediate suspicion of how did you come by it, because the only people generally that are going to be using trade coins are going to be merchants or bandits that just killed a bunch of merchants. So there is not a lot of use of trade coins, but there are a lot of them about because of the amount of traffic that does go through the town. So the Braunhaus does have a menu. There is I might have a handout of that. Do I? Maybe not. I do not. So the Braunhaus does have a regular menu, and a room for the evening, which includes breakfast and a pint of dark beer, will cost you 2 face shell. They have a breakfast, which consists of venison sausage, white gravy with biscuits, and fried potatoes for 6 drachpence, which is steal of a deal. There is, for lunch, Tika likes to serve, or rather, Grandma Crackerbottom likes to serve, a beef stew with boiled carrots, celery, potatoes, and onions, and it is served with a hot loaf of bread for 4 drachpence. And dinner is usually a smoked salmon fillet, roasted green beans, and a baked potato for 7 drachpence. The inn does have a number of drinks. Tika does brew her own dark ale, the Braunhaus Dark. In a pint of that is 2 drachpence. A pitcher, or a 1-gallon pitcher, is 8 drachpence. And she has a Braunhaus Pale Lager that she also brews. One pint is 1 drachpence, and a 1-gallon pitcher is 4 drachpence. They do import Glauschein Imperial Pale Ale from Glauschein itself, and there's a chance that they may not have any, simply because, as stated earlier, there's not a whole lot of traffic that comes between Glauschein and Braunhaven unless they are tax collectors. But when it is in stock, they have the IPA for 6 drachpence for a pint, and 1-gallon pitcher is 1 face shill. Down from the Skellis Mountains, the dwarves, of course, have a favor for distilling whiskey, and their bottom shelf whiskey is 50-year aged, and that is actually served. Zlatoheim Distillery's 50-year aged whiskey is served in the Braunhaus. A cup, which is about a half pint, is 1 facial. And if you want a flask, which is a pint, that is 1 cestus piece. Der Zwodelek sparkling wine comes from the capital city of the High Elves in the Sylvanas Forest, that generally very few people know how to get there. But they do have that sparkling wine. A 1 pint glass is 1 facial, and a bottle is 8 facial. And the gnomes in the region, especially from the Gray Hills, they like brandy, and so gnomish brandy, a cup is 5 drachpence, and a flask is 2 facial. And of course, they have snacks. They have a melted cheese and toasted bread loaf that is usually made with Tika's aged smoked Gouda. That she'll serve that for 2 drachpence. And they sell supplies to people that are traveling. 7 days worth of iron rations, which basically consists of preserved foods, beef jerky, so dried meats, dried fish, dried fruit, nuts. Those are 15 cestus pieces, and standard rations, if you prefer fresh, will cost you 5 cestus pieces. And of course, the fresh rations aren't going to last as long as the iron rations. And she also, from directly from the bar, sells 1 ounce leather pouches of Shire Smoke, which is, as stated in previous episodes, is a 50-50 mix of Arabashian tobacco and halfling pipe weed from the Braunhaven region. And a 1 ounce pouch of Shire Smoke will cost 2 drachpence. And so all of this is available at the inn, and is as I've said before, it is a common practice for people that live in the town or around the town at night after the day's work. A lot of times they will come into the tap room and sit around the fire, have a pint, you know, socialize, and usually they'll smoke some Shire Smoke and just relax from the day's work. Not necessarily go there every night for dinner, but most nights they will come in at least for a pint after they have eaten dinner at home. So this is the Braunhaus, and next time, so next week, because of the holiday, we will be talking about the All Faiths Temple and the druid that has taken over the ministrations to the faithful in town, Father Philister Ainsworth. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.